Okay, good morning, everyone. So, my name is Larry Swartz. Good morning, everyone. My name is Larry Swartz. In accordance with Section 4553 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. I'm the chair this morning. With me on my far left, Mr. Fazeli, Ms. Casson, on my right, Mr. Marziari. Panel members. Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed the rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of a decision of the committee. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised, to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has the opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Turning now to confirmation of the minutes of the last meeting. Looking for a motion to adopt the minutes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're adopting the March 21st. Present were Mr. Swartz, Mr. Faselli, Mr. Mazziari, and Ms. Casson.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt those minutes? Motion, Ms. Casson. Seconder? Seconder, Mr. Marziari. Those in favor? That's approved, carried. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for any of the items before us this morning? Seeing none. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferrals?
Not in the morning period.
Thank you. Are there any files to be closed this morning, Mr.?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no files to be closed.
Thank you. In this case, we will proceed with the first item. The first item before us this morning concerns 648 Bedford Park Avenue. This is a proposal to construct a new dwelling. There are 10 variances. We have before us a number of documents. Those include an arborist report and a transportation report. The variances include proposed building length, proposed building depth, proposed lot coverage, proposed height of the front exterior main wall, proposed height of the rear exterior main wall, proposed number of stories at 3, proposed height of the first floor above established grade, proposed number of platforms, proposed platform encroachment, and proposed second-story platform. Do we have the agent for the applicant present or on?
Yes.
Are they on remote? Okay.
Hello?
So we have the agent for the applicant. We have the owner. So please come forward, agent, and state your name and your address. And also, if you could please advise if there's any changes to your application. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
yes,
Yes, so please state your name and your address.
yes. Good morning. My name is Thomas Marzotto. I'm with the firm Thomas Marzotto Architects. My address is 20 Berkeley Road in Cambridge, Ontario.
Okay. 20 Berkeley, okay, so it says on our list Curlew, but 20 Berkeley, okay. Okay. All right, and do you have any changes to your application before we get going?
No changes. No.
All right. Before we hear from you, I just want to check with the panel members. Panel members, given there's nobody here in opposition, why don't you check with panel members, do you need a full presentation from the applicant? I see heads shaking. No, but, okay, so Mr. Applicant's agent, the panel members have indicated that they do not need a full presentation from you. It's your discretion and should you wish to do so, but it's not needed by the panel. Do you have anything you'd like to say? Can we proceed with our decision?
Yes, so the only what I'd like to reinforce is that there's been no opposition or ask for changes by any neighbor, transportation, urban forestry.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We will now go into our committee. Panel members, well, actually before that, before committee, I'm presuming there's no questions. No questions? Let's go into committee. Panel members, comments on the application? No comments? Motion? Ms. Casson, are you looking to make a motion? Mr. Mars, Yari would like to make a
Mr.
motion?
Chair, yes, I'd like to make a motion. I think the motion, there are quite a few variances, but the requested variances appear to be minor and meeting for tests. So I'd like to make a motion to approve, and I don't see, there's a forestry condition with the condition of urban forestry.
So we have a motion to approve with the condition of forestry. Seconder for the motion. We'll go with Ms. Casson. Motion to, all those in favor of the motion? It's approved unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations to applicant. It's approved. And we are on to our second item. Second item today is 8 Glengrove Avenue West. This is to construct an accessory structure, a pool cabana, in the rear yard of this subject property. We have before us a number of documents. Those include a letter of support and a staff report, amongst others. There are 3 variances requested. Those are proposed east side yard setback, proposed pool pad equipment device, distance from the east lot line, proposed east side yard setback for the barbecue. We do not have anyone in opposition. We do have the applicant's agent here. Would the applicant's agent please come forward, state your name and address?
Yes, my name is Tom Sprague, Sprague and Company Architects, and our address is 156 Duncan Mill Road here in Toronto.
Thank you. And are there any changes to your application?
Yes, there will be, and I'll explain that briefly. And I just, first of all, like to just go over and give a bit of background on this application.
Okay, so just before we get going, so there are changes to your application, correct?
Well, one of the variances
So-
we're going to delete, so I'll explain that.
So before we do that, then I'm taking it on that basis, does the panel still
Okay.
want to hear from these are changes that we haven't seen now?
Oh, I would definitely like, because the staff report, and I would like to definitely give a presentation, please.
So the panel does want to hear and the applicant does want to present, so please go ahead, Mr. Applicant, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Very brief background to this application. The owners last year built a swimming pool, And part of the swimming pool was they had to put pool equipment that was installed, and it's about 3 feet high, but it was located 0.05 meters from the east property line. So that's actually in place. That's variance number 2 that you see beside you. With respect to all 3 of the variances, with respect to number 2 in our communication with planning, they're fine with leaving the pool equipment as it is. They just want to make sure no other equipment would be added, which there will not be. So, so with respect to variance number 2, that what's there will remain exactly as is. I'll focus on just variance number 3 because the owners wanted to build another, basically an enclosure over a barbecue area further south on the property line. In view of the concerns of planning and quite honestly as a concession to them, the owners decided to delete this variance already. Now, I actually put that in, and it was, I believe, put in on April 18th that we were going to delete that variance number 3. So we're just really would be dealing with the 2 variances that you see before you, 1 and 2. Now, the one variance that's absolutely critical to this project is variance number 1. And what that is to build this ancillary structure cabana to within 0.05 meters of the property line instead of the 0.3, which is the bylaw. And the reason for this is that the extra 0.25 meters or 10 inches makes a huge difference to the functionality of the space, which is still very, very narrow. And in terms of impact on the neighbors, there's none. There's nil. It's right on the property. It's 0.35 meters from the property line. There's no impact whatsoever. And we've reviewed this very in detail with the neighbors next door. They're totally supportive. In fact, there's a letter that was on file. That supporting letter is from the neighbor to the east. The planning staff report refers to that they wanted to have more separation for the reason being for giving access down the side into the back rear yard from their report and for building maintenance. Well, first of all, this will be a maintenance-free building. And I would argue whether it's 0.3 or it's inaccessible to get in there. It's not usable space at all even to get in there. You wouldn't use that to get in the back garden. So in this case, every situation is different, of course, but I feel that locating it very close to the property line has no implication in this case of any negativity on the neighbors. They're supportive, but it does make a huge difference to the functionality of what they're trying to build. Lastly, what I'd like to do is if you would please pull up the supporting material that we sent last week. It was actually posted on the 22nd. You could pull that up, I'd appreciate it. The supporting material. On the screen you can see, but in that one, if you could pull it up, we could just, I could refer to it. Yeah. In this one, well, that's our actually covering letter, which covers a lot of things, points I'm making now, but that's the covering letter, but I wanted to actually pull up supporting material if I could. Yes. That's exactly right here, because what I'm trying to do here is to really put this in perspective of other what's been done in the neighborhood and the character of the neighborhood. And so these are just a couple of examples. Some of them, in fact, we're building right on the property line. We didn't want to do that, but it's not that this is out of keeping for ancillary buildings to be very close to the property line. But I like if you could scroll down even further, because the one example that I'm also referring to is a notice of decision from number 10 Glengrove. Now that's the house due west, and the committee approved this decision. If you scroll down to item number 12, there we go. I've highlighted it there. So the previous committee approved this side yard addition to be 0.05 meters for the portion of it, and this was a house addition. So on this side, it was approved for 0.05 by a prior committee. And this is what we're asking for on the other side for a much smaller, of course, little cabana to accessory building. So just to summarize in thought to give an overview, I feel that what we're proposing here is very much in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The scope is appropriate. it's an appropriate development, in my opinion, and has, as I've mentioned before, and I'll stress again, it has no impact on the neighbors. And, but it makes a huge difference to what they're trying to do in the top corner of the property, as you can see. So in summary, I would hope very much that the committee would approve variances number 1 and 2, and as decided with in deference to planning, variance number 3 has been totally deleted. So I do consider this minor in nature and a very, very appropriate development. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Panel members, question for the applicant? No questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, applicant's agent. We're going to go into committee. We are now in committee. Do we have comments? Ms. Casson?
No comments, but I have no concerns with this application. I'm ready to make a motion to approve. I think that it meets the intent of the official plan of the zoning bylaw. The request of variances as amended, as stated in the planning staff report. So,
All right,
this is subject to the staff report
Subject to the
condition.
staff
So
report condition.
To eliminate variance 3 and that variance 2 only apply to the as-built condition of the existing pool equipment.
all right, very good. So we have a motion with conditions. Seconder to the motion?
No,
Mr.
it's
Mar-
Hmm?
Seconder, okay. Mr. Fazeli, second. Those in favor? Thank you. It's approved. Congratulations. We are now on to item number 3. Item number 3 is 36 Glengowan Road. This is a proposal to allow existing air conditioning units to remain. Have a number of documents on file. They include a staff report. The request for variance, there's one, it's that existing air conditioners require a side yard setback. Note that the planning staff report recommends a deferral. The agent registered is here. There is no one in opposition as far as I can see. I presume, panel members, do you want to hear from the applicant? We do have a staff report.
Hi, my name is,
Okay, so
hello,
applicant,
my name is John Brun. I'm the applicant.
okay, what's your name?
Sorry, my name is John Brunt and I'm the agent for the applicant.
Thank you. And can you state
there-
your address too?
Yes, it's 2 Queen Street East, Suite 1500,
Okay.
Toronto, Ontario.
Thank you. So
And
are
I'm
there,
at the firm of Blaney McMurtry.
thank you. And so, Mr. Applicant's agent,
So
are there any changes to your application?
Sorry, there is in fact a request for deferral, which I tried to indicate when they first asked, but that was not processed. So
Okay.
because of the Planning Act, or the planning report, I agreed to a deferral. And although there's nobody in opposition, there was a neighbor who was informed that we would be seeking a deferral. So
Got it.
I don't think it's appropriate we proceed at this time.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else that you need to say about that? Or can we go, or panel members, do you have a question from?
Through you, Mr. Chair, can I just have the reason for the deferral?
Well, the planning
The
staff
reason-
said. Okay, Mr.
Yeah,
Applicant.
so sorry, apologies. The reason for the deferral is the Planning Act report recommended it. Will we correct a technical wording in our zoning waiver that was signed and submitted with the application? And we're arranging to amend that. We had improperly referenced in the zoning waiver a previous minor variance file, and that's the reason for the deferral.
Okay,
We'd like to correct that.
understood. So panel members, do you have a question from the applicant? Okay, let's go into committee. We have a motion for a deferral. Mr. Marziari?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to defer this application so it allows the applicant to correct the variance.
Good. I see Ms. Casson is seconding that. All those in favor of the deferral motion, it's unanimous, and we are, congratulations on your request. We have a deferral, and we're on to item number 4.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is 53 Bryan Drive. This is to construct a second-floor addition, interior alterations, and to convert a two-unit to a two-unit dwelling. There is one request for variance. There is one letter of objection amongst the documents on file. This is for the one variance is just for proposed second-story addition and north yard, side yard setback. So we do have a neighbor here, so we will hear from the applicant. The applicant, would you come forward, applicant's agent or applicant? Please state your name and address.
Hi, morning. My name is Henry Wang. I'm with One Architects Inc. The address is 3950 14th Avenue in Markham.
Thank you. Now, do you have any changes to your application before we get going?
No, sir.
All right. So please proceed with your presentation. We will give you 5 minutes. It starts now, please.
Yeah, thank you. We just have a second floor addition, about 550 square feet, a small addition. And we like to line up the second floor wall with the first floor so that we have better structure support. So the first floor side yard setback is 1.27 meter. So we just want to keep the second floor the same so that the structure is better. Also, front elevation looks better. And I think the proposed height is 9.5 meter, is like more than 0.5 meter below the permitted height. So I think this will not have a negative impact on the neighbor. Also keeping with the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And our next participant, would we please put them forward, and if they could state their name. We have possibly 2 people here. They could state their name, their address. Hello?
Yes, hello. My name is
Actually, you know
Tom.
what? We didn't. I didn't give the panel members a chance to ask a question of the applicant. So I didn't see anybody that wanted a question, but if you want, okay. So yes, Mr. Resident, please proceed. State your name and address. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Tom. Do you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Tom, and I live on Bryan Drive. And what I'm going to say might not be very taken very well with the owner. They, for as long as I remember, they had this property as a rental, and they had cars parked on the lawn. They had a big, large, like 4-person brown couch that I know the city for several weeks until the city, I guess, I know neighbors in the neighborhood told them to remove it or whatever. They had a motorcycle visible through the windshield, through the living room window. So it was used as a rental property with maybe 7 to 10 people living there. The front lawn's a mess. Currently, they have a nail sign right next to the adjustment signage, and on the weekend they had a table trying to sell nails. And I feel that this neighborhood has always been like a family neighborhood, and it looks like they're just trying to increase their profitability from this, because I don't believe the homeowners live there. The house is empty currently, and I guess they just removed the tenants for this new application. I know that the city was called by other neighbors, not by me, for like the grass being above 2 feet tall or more and unkept. And I'm sure there's other people here in the meeting that would also like to discuss or say those things. But that's pretty much what I have to say. I know planning is difficult, but we'd like to plan for the better. And I know the applicant or the agent of the applicant didn't talk about the second, my issue is that they want to make it into 2 property dwellings instead of just 1, which is a big, I think, problem, because it looks like instead of just having 7 to 10 tenants living there, it's going to be now probably closer to 20. They had cars parked on the road. They had cars parked on the boardwalk and on the lawn, like I said before. So those are my concerns, that this is not a sort of middle-class family dwelling in the neighborhood where kids walk to school. It was used as a more profitability, and it just shows currently with the nail salon business. And those are my concerns. And I know that we have a housing issue, but I think residential neighborhoods should be maintained as a residential, and the high density should be maintained as a high density dwelling, as that they're doing currently on Consumers Road and building all the condos. So I'm opposed to that second splitting up the 1 property into 2, as it's been, as far as I remember, a rental properties for many, many years.
All right, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can I get the speaker's last name and address, please?
Did we not get that? Okay, let's do it again then. So,
Would I
Mr.
just,
Speaker, we just...
could I just ask you, I can email it to you, but just because it's, would it, just from what I said, I've emailed that, my name and address, but for this
Okay.
recording or whatever.
But let's just hear it just
is
for the
possible
record,
just to
so we've
remain
got it.
anonymous for now?
Huh? Could you just state
Would it
your
be
name
possible
and
to
address? I thought I heard it before, but we just want to have it for the record, if you could, please.
We have it, Mr. Chair, we have it.
Okay.
Just
Staff,
keep in mind, though, if you don't know the location of the speaker, you should be assigning weight to that if you don't know where the speaker is located. Do you know what I mean? Do you
I
understand?
have it in, I've emailed that information to you, so you have it. I just like to remain anonymous just because I do live on Bryan, and I don't know these neighbors because I don't live there, and I don't know what kind of retribution.
okay. All right, but we got the name, we've got the address, right? Everything's good to go?
Correct.
From
Correct.
staff perspective? All right, thank you. Panel members, do you have a question?
Thank you.
Mr.
Quick question.
Marciari?
So the house number, the neighbor's house number is 63, correct? Oh, so what is the house?
There's another person here who's written, who I have handwritten in, somebody wrote it in, who's a neighbor. Let's just move on.
Sure.
Okay, do we have anybody else who's speaking here?
Mr. Chair, we do not. The resident from 63 Bryan is not present.
Okay. So panel members, we're okay to go into committee then. Let's do it. Panel members, in committee, comments on this application. I see Ms. Casson has a comment.
Mr. Chair, I understand, listening to the resident, that they have concerns with the house that's subject to the variances, but the concerns are property standards type of concerns and not under our purview in terms of looking at a zoning application. So from that perspective, I'm willing to make a motion to approve this application. I think that the second-story addition is logical. It follows the existing wall. And I believe that it's minor and won't have a negative impact on the neighborhood, meets the intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and therefore I'm willing to move that. Subject to no conditions, from what I can see.
All right, so we've got a motion,
Yes, I second that.
second by Mr. Fazeli. Those in favor of the motion, unanimous. Congratulations to the applicant, it's approved. On to our next item. Okay, so our next item is item number 5. Item number 5, as I pull it up here. Item number 5 is 167 Franklin Avenue. This is to construct a second-story addition in conjunction with a rear and side additions to the existing dwelling. There are 8 variances. We have a number of documents on file. Those include a letter of support and a staff report. Staff report has a number of conditions for requests from planning staff. Just to summarize the variances, they include, of the 8, they include proposed rear platform, proposed west side yard setback, proposed platform encroachment, proposed rear canopy on the west side lot, proposed eaves, proposed driveway, proposed parking space. All right. So for this item, we do have on our list an agent owner and a designer. We only really need to hear from one. If you could come forward, please. You'll have 5 minutes, but we'll need your name and address. And so do we have you both together? Is that, or is this one? Are you the,
We're the owners.
you're the owners? Okay.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Beach, and we're at 167 Franklin Avenue, and this is my wife, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Before you proceed, do you have any changes to your application?
There were some changes made when we started talking to the city, but I think those they should have been submitted, and most of it has, or some of them were addressed.
Okay. I'm
Through you, Mr. Chair, we need the owner agent to verbally state the changes for the record.
Our builder's online, who'd probably be
okay.
better
So you
suited.
may want to. You get 5 minutes in total, but you may want to start with your builder so he can identify what the changes are, so that
Absolutely.
we will know those at the panel. Now, I'm presuming we typically, I don't see anybody in opposition, so in that case, I do ask the panel members, but I think that the panel members will want to hear from you given there are changes, right? Got it. Okay. So we'll go over to you. You're going to have 5 minutes. You can split it up amongst you and your
That's fine.
agent
That's fine. Yeah.
however you want, but I would strongly suggest that you want your agent to at least outline the changes, because we do have a staff report that identifies a number of requests, and your agent may be able to bring those to bear for
Absolutely.
us. Okay, so go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll pass it to Mike, our builder, who I assume is online.
I am. Committee, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So this project was generated.
Mr. Chair, we still need his
because
name and
of-
address, please.
Sorry.
Sorry, my name is Michael Grenander. My address is number 74 Oaks Gate in Toronto.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So the concept of this build was to add a second floor and a garage to the side yard of the property. Almost all of the variances relate to the west property line, where in order for us to get a garage, we tried to find a balance between the minimum size that we can have for a garage while still making it usable and provide enough space along that west property line. We spoke to members of zoning, and we've actually moved the property, or we moved the project in to provide 0.6 meters of setback. The lot itself.
Mr. Chair, can I just pause this? The builder needs to make the changes first and cite from the public notice the variance number and the changes they are making.
All right, so,
Sorry, if you can walk me through the process?
yeah, so we will need to know, you're asking us to make an approval for things that you've made changes to. We need to know what those changes are, because we can't really approve it blind. Like, you can't be the only person that knows what the changes are, right?
No,
And the city
all of
can't
these
just know,
changes-
the committee has to know.
We submitted them already.
Yeah, but it's not enough
were
for
all
you to
submitted-
submit them.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we need these read into the record, please. Just cite the variance number on the public notice and the change to the variance, please.
Gotcha. Okay, so number one has a side yard setback of 0.39 meters from the west property line. That has been revised to 0.6 meters from the property line. Coverage at 41.24% has been revised to 37%, with 7% almost as rear deck. The building proper has been reduced to just over 30%. Number three, the side yard setback, 1.2 meters. The west wall has moved to 0.6 meters.
Through you,
setback.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. Could the applicant explain the changes for number two, the variance number two again? 41.24% to what percentage?
And again, I apologize, I submitted all of this stuff to the city, so we had it. The total coverage has been reduced to 37.0%, and the house itself is 30.7% of coverage. The rear deck has been reduced to 4.9% of coverage, and the front porch is 1.4% coverage. And again, all of this was resubmitted to the city, and my expectation was they would have forwarded it to you. So I apologize for not, for us having to go through this. If that satisfies 1, 2, and 3, I can move on to 4. Number 4 is a canopy or awning that also has been reduced to 0.6 meters as a side yard setback. It's noted as 0.396. Number 5, the variance should be removed completely because we have moved the eave projection and the eaves troughs back to 0.3 meters from the property line. Again, all of these are revised drawings that have already been submitted. For number 6, the driveway, we've not changed the width of the driveway, even with the moving in of the building to 0.6 meters. If we had also moved the driveway in, we still would have been in contravention of the zoning bylaw. So we maintained the existing width of the driveway. And number 7, the minimum parking space. It says the minimum is 3.2 meters. What we had in our original proposal was
Sorry, Mr. Chair, the
2.96.
variance number that the builder is citing doesn't align with the public notice. And I think it started a little earlier on than that. So 7 is
I'm reading
driveway.
directly off of the zoning bylaw notice. So I'm sorry about that.
So can you please reference the variance number on the public notice that's on the screen?
You know what, I mean, we only give 5 minutes. We're now up to our 5 minutes. So, you know, I'm just a little concerned about an application where we don't have I'm just wondering if it might be better to defer it, get all the application together and come back. You don't want to do that, do you?
Well, we
Well,
have,
one of the reasons why we did this, and we sent all of this information in, we did this all last week to make sure that the committee had all of the revised documents. Everything was sent through in accordance with all of the requests that we were given by the city. And
So
we
through you,
tried to
again,
do
through
this
you,
so that we
Mr.
could
Chair,
maintain this
any
unity.
changes needs to be read into the record during the tribunal hearing.
okay.
Well, we're now at,
Guys,
we're
can
now
I,
at time for the 5 minutes. Like, maybe,
could we address you for 1 second? Is that possible? We'll be very,
Well,
very brief.
well, yeah, but just a second, right? You realize you've had your 5 minutes.
I
5
appreciate
minutes
that.
is up, so you're asking us to waive the rules and give you longer.
Well,
Before you even do that, I know you've come here in person, and I'm willing to let you have your say, although you have spent the first 5 minutes already. But I think it's pretty important that we hone in on what what is really being asked by the staff, right? So staff asked to modify variance number 1. I guess I just want to ask, yes or no, has that been done? Is it fully satisfied now? Variance number 1. I'm going to go through the 4 variances because staff recommended that if they were not changed, that it be refused. So let's go with variance number 1. I don't need a description of it. Is it now satisfied by the changes? That's really a yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
What about variance number 2? Is that now satisfied by the changes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, to interrupt, but the number that the agent stated is different from the condition of the staff. They stated 37%, whereas the staff noted 32.5. So can the agent clarify that?
I will. I was told by the person that sent us the letter that the rear deck would be included, even though it was less than 5%. So I redid the calculations and sent those in to the person that asked me, and that's the 37% is what was shown. If we take the rear deck out, the 32.5 is exactly what it should be. So I was given improper information.
So if we approve this, what we are approving is 32.5, not 37%. You know that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So are you satisfied, Mr. Marziari, that they have complied with variance?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, to be clear, it's now 32.5 and it's not 37.
32.5.
Because originally the change was 37 read into the record. I just want to be absolutely clear.
Right, so it would be 32.5,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Let's go on to variance number 3. Has that been satisfied entirely? Variance number 3. It's
Yes.
really yes or no. We have, okay, and now let's deal with variance number 5. Has that been satisfied, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Is it, pardon? It's being eliminated, okay. All right. So I'm going to make an exception to the 5 minute and let you have, what do you need, a minute? Will a minute?
Yeah, listen.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, appreciate your time. My wife and I have been living in this neighborhood for 15 years. We absolutely love it. You guys can see the letters of support we've received from our neighbors on everything that we're doing. We've spoken to our neighbors before we moved in with it. Basically, we're trying to keep this to a minimum. We're keeping the same footprint of the existing house. The house we did buy, like this house, is getting old. It's fallen apart. We had to accelerate the construction. We're trying to keep everything as is. The only thing we're requesting is a garage, especially in our neighborhood where there's so many cars being stolen. It was the one thing we're asking, and we've kept it smaller than what it's supposed to be. Other than that, we really appreciate you guys looking at this. We've been working with the city. We've made the changes requested. Again, we're not developers. This is our forever home. This is our neighborhood that we live in. Our family are here. We're never going to move again. We'd really appreciate you guys kind of looking at this and approving it if possible.
All right, thank you. Panel members, question to the applicant? Any questions? No? All right. Okay, thank you. So we are going to go into committee. Discussion? Any discussion by panel members? Ms. Casson?
Mr. Chair, I'm willing to make a motion for approval on this application. I think that for the application as amended in accordance with the planning staff report, just to clarify, I think that the requested variances are minor, and I think that the applicant has spent time trying to comply with planning's requests and also amend their plans accordingly. I think it's within the intent of the OP and zoning, and it's appropriate for the site. So, motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Just to be clear to our staff, it's approved with condition, correct? That it be in compliance with
the planning staff report. Yeah.
Is that sufficient for staff, or should we outline for you each?
Well, we wouldn't tie it to a planning report because they're not actually conditions.
It's amended.
You would, if you agree with it, you would move the motion as amended.
That's correct.
And then if there are additional conditions you wish to attach, that's up to you.
Okay, so.
Okay, so I believe I moved the motion to the variances as amended. So I think I've covered that. There are no forestry conditions, so there are no other conditions of approval.
And is that sufficient for staff? Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder to that motion?
Yes, I second that.
Mr. Fazeli, vote on the motion. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations. It's approved.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.
Very much.
Okay, so our next item is item number 6. That is 14 LACEWOOD. This is a proposal to construct a new detached dwelling. There are 6 variances. We have on file a number of documents. Those include a counselor letter, 15 letters of objection. We have a planning staff report with some condition. And just to summarize the proposed variances, the 6 variances, those include proposed height of the building structure, proposed height of the east side exterior main walls, proposed height of the west side exterior main walls, proposed lot coverage, proposed number of stories at 3, proposed area of the rear platform at the 2nd story. So given we have an applicant, or is an applicant with us or on the online? Do we have an applicant?
Yes, I'm here, Henry Wang.
Okay.
But speaker will be Edward.
Okay, so can I have the name of the speaker and the address of the speaker, please? Hello? This is for item number 6. Do we have a name and address for a applicant speaker?
Mr. Chair, I believe that was the applicant speaking. I believe it's Henry Wang.
Okay, but can we, is he there? Can he state his name and his address?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm Henry Wang from One Architects Inc. My address is 3950 14th Avenue in Markham. The speaker is supposed to be Edward, but apparently he's has maybe technical issue.
Okay, so you're going to be the speaker, is that right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you. So do you have, before you get to speaking, do you have any changes that you want to make to this application?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'd like to change the height from 10.95 to 10.65.
Okay, all right.
And we'd like to lower the main wall from 8.1 meter to 7.8 meter.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can I just have the variance number, please? Before the change?
So applicant, is that variance number 1? Would you please confirm that?
Okay, variance number 1 is the height. We
Right,
changed it from 10.95 to 10.65.
okay, we got it. Thank you. All right.
Variance.
Go ahead, you'll have 5 minutes.
We just
Amending another one? How many variances are you amending?
Mr. Chair, if I may, sorry. So the applicant speaking right now, Henry, had suggested that there was an Edward online. We do have an Edward. Perhaps, do we want to go to Edward to see if he's actually supposed to be representing this application? Because Mr.
Yes,
Wang
please.
sounded as if he was not sure.
Okay, do you want to do that, Mr. Wayne? We'll go to Edward?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's put Edward on.
I'm Edward Broders.
What's your last name? How do you spell it?
My last name is Broders, B as in box, R-O-E, D as in dog, E-R-S.
R-O-E-D-E-R-S, okay. And what's your address?
I'm at 282 Warden Avenue.
Okay. All right. And we already started with the changes. Do you agree that those are the changes that were made? There was one, can you list those variances that are being changed, please?
Variance 1 and 2, the maximum height was 10.95, now it's 10.65.
Right,
And the specified main walls, item 2, variance 2, it was 8.1, now it's 7.8.
7.8, got it. Go ahead, you've got 5 minutes, please.
So basically, I think the proposal is pretty straightforward. We're proposing to build a house, a new home that's in scale with the neighborhood, and we're going to need to ask for 5 minor variances to be able to build this house. We spoke with the neighbors, or the architect Henry spoke with the neighbors, and we have some opposition, we realize, and that's one reason why we're going with the reduction in heights. We also agreed to reduce the height of the deck in the back by 30 centimeters. And I think we could propose a privacy screen there as well, if that's a concern for the neighbor on the east. I think that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Panel members, question to the applicant?
Through you,
Mr.
Mr. Chair, I have question. So 2 questions. One is that for the applicant, are you going to change the variance number 3 as well, or is it only number 2? And you mentioned about another change just right now. Was that, if you could clarify, if had any relation with any of variances?
No, the deck doesn't have any relation to any of the variances. That was just was a courtesy for privacy, increase the privacy. And as for variance number 3, maximum lot coverage, no, we're not changing that.
This is not a lot coverage, the variance number 3. It's the height of the west side exterior main walls.
Oh, sorry, that's okay. I got that different. Okay, height of exterior main walls. Yes, we are changing that.
What is the number 2? And could you
So
again
we're
clarify
changing
west
that.
side exterior? We are referring to the west side, right?
Yeah, they're both the same. So we're making it 7.8, going down from 8.1.
All right, so variance number 3 is being changed as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, okay. Do we have more questions from the panel? All right. We've got other speakers then, do we? We've got a bunch of speakers listed. Can we put the next speaker on the line? Oh, in person? Okay. go ahead. Right, so please state your name, state your address. You'll have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm Richard Payton. I live at 16 Lacewood. This is my wife, Anna Miranda. She also lives at 16 Lacewood. Right, if that's me running. Anna and I have lived in our house for over 25 years. We're raising our 2 children there. We're set to retire in the next couple of years, fully intend on living in this house as long as we can. We were very surprised to get this notice. There's been very, very few rebuilds in our immediate area. And I'll expand on that a bit. We were very surprised to see the planning recommendation that this be accepted, so we arranged a meeting with them. They explained that they looked at the overall area, not just our immediate area, and I just want to explain a bit about that. Our area, I would say you could divide into pockets. Some lots are extremely large, 100 feet by a few hundred feet depth. There's an area where the lots are on average 85 to 125 feet. And you go right down to semi-detached houses that are 36-foot frontage. Our area is sort of the second largest. We're bigger. Our lots are bigger than the semi-detached, but we're generally 60 by 100 feet. There are 2 streets, Lacewood and Groveland. We back onto Groveland, as does this applicant's house. In total on Lacewood and Groveland, again, the lots are generally 60 by 100. There have been 6 or 7 rebuilds ever of about 90 houses. They're all under 10 meters. In fact, a few of the more very recent ones are in the range of 7.2 to 9 meters, well below what they could have built. Every rebuild has been done by the current occupant who rebuilt and now lives in the house afterwards. That's not the same with this situation. This person bought the house in the last year or 2. We met them for the very first time earlier this week when they came by with their architect. They currently lease it out to a handful of families, very nice families. The owner indicated that he himself doesn't intend on living in this house afterwards. He suggested his 18-year-old son might. You know, we view this more as a development and not by somebody who understands our community. Again, I could go into how great our community is and why we want to stay there and why all the builds up to this point on these streets, at least Lacewood and Groveland, have involved the neighbors, you know, largely giving input and considered considered the neighbors. I don't think I see my time is running, so I'll just speed it up here. I don't think these variances are minor. I don't think they're at all conducive to the neighborhood, certainly not the immediate neighborhood on these 60 by 100-foot lots. The height of the house, this house will cast a shadow on our backyard. We're east of the house, so as the sun's setting, it's going to cast a shadow up to 2 hours a day, generally over 100 minutes every day of the spring and the summer, about 1/8 of the available daylight given any time of year. A almost 16 square meter deck on the second story, even lowered by 30 centimeters, is going to have a direct view over our entire backyard. We spend all our time in our backyard on either our deck or in our pool, our kids swimming in the pool. We're going to be faced with a very, very large side wall. Yes, I understand they've now said they're going to lower it a bit. A screen on the deck to me is just more wall. Right now we have a view of the sky and trees. We're going to have a very large wall with another 2.5 meters of roof because this is not a sloped roof. my general comment is this, is even if this builder built a house that had no variances, he would still be able to have the absolute largest house on lots of similar sizes. So I don't see any reason why they need to go 3 stories. We're not aware of any 3 stories on any similar sized lots. And this would have a major negative impact, not on the neighbor, not only on the neighborhood, but on us, our property specifically. So I got it.
All right.
Okay, so these variances are far from minor, do not satisfy any of the criteria, hence we respectfully request they all be rejected.
Thank you. Panel members, question? Ms. Casson?
Just have a question. I'm not sure if the owner's architect explained why it's classified as a 3-story building. It's not actually 3 stories. It's the definition of where the first story starts. So I understand for a new house, it will be taller than what's existing, but I don't know if they explained that to you. That they'll have the look of a 2-story house. It just is for the definition of the bylaw, 3-story.
I'll answer that. I'll say we're learning a lot about this as we go. We've never had to face this. I frankly thought that I didn't realize that now, regardless of whether a roof is sloped or not, you're allowed 10 meters. My initial comment was that's not a sloped roof, but they're getting off on it on a technicality. I now understand that the act has changed. Or the bylaws have changed. I don't know that they've, changed for the better. I don't think they're intended to make monster homes on lots of this size. But, somebody mentioned that to me about it's more a technicality, it's 3 stories. I look at the drawings, I don't see that. Like the side of the house on us, there will be 3 levels of windows, all well above grade. So I don't, and my comment on the 3 stories is this will be the first. This will be the first 3-story. There's the view with 3 stories of windows on the side. So I'm not sure how that's really a technicality. And that's the side that's facing us. I do believe they've got their labeling of their east and west wrong. But it's the 3 stories that then requires them to have all these height variances. So take away the 3rd story. As I say, they go to 2 stories. They don't require any height variances. They take away the 32% to 30. The house now I've got 3/4 of a meter less of a big wall. And then with 2 stories, they can then build just an at-grade deck that's not staring over on not just my property, properties of all the adjacent owners.
All right, other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thanks.
Next resident. So please state your name. and your
Yes, good
address.
morning. My name is Nancy Ewan. I am an owner-resident at 49 Groveland Crescent, and I have been an owner-resident there for approximately 30 years.
Thank you.
I'm going to read some documentation only that supplements the objection that I filed with the committee, just because I am mindful of time. So I am opposed to this application for the reasons set out in my letter of objection dated April 18th, which details the applicant's variance requests relative to the 4 tests that I understand the Committee of Adjustment should consider and apply to every variance request. I also understand that each variance request must pass all 4 tests, failing which the request should be refused. In my analysis and in my view, this threshold has not been met, and accordingly, the variance request should probably be denied or should be denied. In addition to that, I'd also like to reiterate and remind the committee that the applicant has failed to provide any reasonable rationale why they cannot comply with the zoning bylaw. Surely this could be accomplished by reducing interior ceiling height and thus overall building and wall height and possibly the number of stories, reducing the depth of the building, and reducing the size of the rear deck. None of these things impact on the utility. They would still be allowed to build a large house that is there as of right. permissions currently set out in the current zoning bylaw. But they've had no rationale why they should be allowed to build in excess of the zoning bylaw. Further, I would also mention that there is no public support. There is no support that I can find anywhere that's been posted on the website for this application. So in my view, these variances negatively and materially and adversely impact the value of adjacent properties by disturbing the existing conformity and uniformity of the street. They reduce light and privacy, and they also may limit the desirability for a potential purchaser down the road. In addition to the impact on adjacent properties, other nearby residents will be negatively impacted by the changing streetscape character and uniformity of the neighborhood, including but not limited to the value of their properties. I'm also concerned that approval of the requested variances would establish a precedent that would have far-reaching impacts on the neighborhood. And in light of that, I would ask the Committee of Adjustment not to permit variance requests to the detriment of adjacent owners in the neighborhood when the applicant could comply, but they have chosen not to. So any approval of requested variances would not uphold the protective nature of the zoning bylaw and would be both unjust and inequitable to the neighboring residents. I also want to point out there are certain, what I would sort of characterize as some document deficiencies in the application, some of which have been made more clear, but I still have questions. So with respect to the architectural plans that were noted, when I look at the elevation drawings for the east and west elevations relative to the building footprint and the floor plan, they don't align. And as a neighbor on either side, I am not, but I would be concerned if I was, because I don't know what I'm going to have on my side yard. You can make some assumptions, but I believe it is incumbent upon the applicant to make those things clear. I would also like to point out that there was no survey posted on the Committee of Adjustment website. There was a survey for another property, but not for the subject property, and it was only posted yesterday. So, and the third thing I'd like to point out is the staff report was posted on the 19th, which is after the deadline for making submissions. So it's very difficult to know what staff is going to say when you don't have any posting available for public viewing and the deadline is already passed for submission. I would also like to note that the sidewall height is not mentioned in the staff report. They only mention the overall building height. I also do not understand how they can approve a 3-story building when there are no 3-story buildings in the neighborhood. And how are they okay approving a large deck variance, which is approximately 300 or 400% over the existing bylaw. And finally, I'd like to just speak to the fact that there are a number of applicants or a number of objections that have been brought forward. I believe there are 15 plus an objection from the local ward councillor. Bearing in mind it takes time to organize and get all these things done. Some people may not be home. I think we made a concerted effort to try and get out there and get those done. But also of critical importance is this is a neighborhood that has a lot of elderly people, some of which infirmed and just cannot, they have more pressing issues to deal with. So the fact that we don't have more isn't a sign of support. It just may be that there's just not time. And some people are fearful of backlash, and so they are not inclined to want to file an objection.
All right.
So
thank you. Your time's up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions from panel? No, there's no questions. Thank you. We have more residents who would like to speak. Any residents in person here or on the line? Okay, let's hear from the next resident. If she could please state her name and address.
Hi, my name is Helen Hannon. I'm at 8 LACEWOOD Crescent in North York. I live a couple houses down from number 14 LACEWOOD, and I also agree that these variances are not minor. I feel that it would impact the property values negatively, and even I believe there was a letter that was posted by Councillor Burnside that stated he's also in objection with this, and I stand by those comments as well.
All right, thank you. Panel members, question? No questions? Thank you. Madam Resident, may we hear from the next resident speaker, please?
Hi, it's John Lee Bartlett.
Okay, so could you please state your last name slowly?
Yep, Lee Bartlett, Lee hyphen Bartlett, Bartlet.
Thank you. And your address, please.
Yep, 9 Lacewood Crescent, diagonally opposite to the proposed build.
Thank you. So please go ahead. You will have a maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. So, like the other residents and councillors that have...
Actually, I hate to interrupt you, but also it would be helpful, just in terms of all the residents, to not repeat what other residents said, but just to state what you think is different that you have to state. Okay?
Yeah, thanks for that, Council. I will state, and I'm afraid I will repeat a couple of things, because I think it's good to hear and put that into the record from each individual resident. So from a minor variance perspective, I do see that the square footage of the overall build would be classified as a major variance based on the increased size if the deck is included. Specific to the deck, its height of a 30 centimetre reduction is noted, but the over 16 square foot deck, which would be larger than the and is also raised at second floor level in the report that I read. So this would obviously overlook other properties that I frequent in the summer and enjoy the sunlight that was mentioned. There is clearly, with the height of the building and the height of the walls, there are no buildings that have this type of variance on the street. So even the reduction of 30 centimetres to 7.8, as mentioned, and the height of the overall building, which is still over the 10 metres, is a variance that should be rejected. I consider all of the variances to be major. I think from a street perspective and a community perspective, it does not fit into the look and feel of any of the houses in this area. And I'm hoping, as per the councillors and the other resident objections, that this planning permission will be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the resident? Panel members? No questions. Thank you. Next resident, please.
My name is Tiffany Lee. I live on 47 Groveland Crescent.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
To echo everybody else in our neighborhood, I also object to these violations, in terms of the builders, decreasing some of the aforementioned, it's still not enough. Again, based on these pictures, the homes around our neighborhood are bungalow single stories. What's been proposed, it would be completely ununiform, unharmonious to our community. My family and I, we're a family of 4 with young children. We all would object to their proposal.
All right. Thank you. Panel members, question of the resident. Thank you. On to the next resident, please. Do we have a resident who is going to speak? Any more residents left to speak? That's it. Because on my list, there was somebody at 15 Lacewood. Have we heard from the person at 15 Lacewood? They're not there?
That person's not online with us.
All right. So now we turn it back, having heard from all the residents, we turn it back to the applicant for a rebuttal. Applicant, It's, you have the floor, you have 5 minutes, but your rebuttal is limited to those issues raised by the residents. If you could please address them.
Okay. Again, I think we were building a scale of what is acceptable for this neighborhood. We understand that there's issues of privacy and light, but I think in light of what the planners have said in their letter, that this is in the scale of the neighborhood. And when you look at all the houses in the neighborhood now, we see basically houses that are rather old and of a different era. And we live in a time where there's a lot of development and we see new houses. And this is a house that isn't extraordinarily large. It's only 357 square meters. And we believe this is a decent scale for a proposal for this application. Regarding the deck, we can move it. We can make it smaller. We can add, we think a privacy screen may help. We can add some landscaping at the side. We do have 1.8 meters on each side of the side yard setbacks. So we have a little bit of space for landscaping for some small trees and shrubs for green screening. So we could do something like that. I think that's about it.
Do you have questions from the panel members? I hate to ask questions, but again, everybody knows I'm from Don Mills. I know this street. I grew up around there. I played baseball on Three Valleys Public School, so I know what's going on. But I'm not going to vote because I'm the chair. But I still, like, I want to understand from the applicant, why are you building this like so high in the front? Like, I know what you're trying to do, but why do you have to, can't you make it lower? Like, why isn't the garage like, why do you have to have so many steps in the front? Can't you build to make it look a little bit more like the rest of the houses?
I suppose we could. I'm not the designer, but I think it's difficult to accommodate these situations when you have when you want to include a 2-car garage. And myself have been in these situations before where you have a little bit of a kind of a puzzle to organize these things. So it's perhaps possible, but there is a design vision here that the client and the architect find.
Well, how would you do that? If you did that, like, I'm not voting on this, but like, I mean, what could you do if you were to bring like the entrance down to grade? How would you do that? Because maybe one of my colleagues might want that. So I'm asking you, how would that impact anything? Could you do it?
I think we could do it.
Okay. All right. I don't have any. I don't know if anybody else has questions. We've got people who know a lot more about this that might have one. I see no questions.
I don't have a question, but I have some comments about this application. And specific about the height of the building and also number of stories that are directly affecting variance number 6. We know that it's always a technical thing that the basement is considered first floor, but in this case, the first floor is 1 story above grade and is causing variance number 6 that is not a minor variance. I think the rear deck at that height with that square footage, I think it's not minor. And also the height, although the applicant stated that they're willing to lower it by a foot, but it's still like it's over by 2 feet. again, I cannot support that one as well. So in general, for me, it's not a supportable application. I want to hear from my colleagues.
So are we, but you're not asking questions, we're in committee
No, I'm
now?
just making a comment.
Okay,
yeah.
so comments. So then I guess, no, there's no further question. Do you have questions from the applicant, Mr.
Yes.
Fazeli? Okay, question for the applicant.
I had a question. While the neighbors, they brought up the point in terms of like an immediate impact versus broader. So I just want to hear the applicant to explain on that matter as well.
So, Mr. Chair, you're in committee now.
No.
Are you going to come out of committee? You're not in committee at this point?
So I'd like to hear applicant to clarify and comment on this matter as well.
Sorry, can you rephrase that?
When the neighbors explaining in terms of the impacts, they brought up a point in terms of like the impact, adverse impact in terms of immediate and broader context. So can you clarify or elaborate, in your opinion, how this satisfied the 4 tests in terms of like immediate and broader context?
Well, I think the in terms of the 4 contests for tests, I can understand that some or a couple of the items may be questionable, and we're ready to eliminate the deck if we have to, or to lower it further. In terms of the immediate context or the larger context, I think we're looking basically at the zoning perspective, which is pretty much has the same classification for the basic the district of where this house is located.
Do you have any comparable, like within the immediate context? Do you have any examples? Can you demonstrate that for us?
Actually, I don't. Actually, I don't.
Okay. We're done with the applicant, are we? Ms. Casson, you're the only one that didn't ask a question. You don't have a question. Okay, so let's go into committee. Thank you, Mr. Applicant. Now we're into committee comments on the application.
Just want to share some comments, Mr. Chair. This application is difficult because I understand the concerns of the neighborhood. There's nothing like it in the neighborhood. It would be sort of the first house built under the what might be permitted by the zoning bylaw, save and except for the variances that have been applied for. There is no front yard, rear yard, side yard, setback, no reduction in all the sort of normal things we see in what we might consider something that's been overbuilt. I understand the concerns with height, but I think that the applicant has agreed with staff for reducing the overall height of the building and has agreed to reduce the height of the side walls. And in doing so, I actually think the variances that are before us are relatively minor.
All right, so we've got one person who said she's in favor, one is opposed, and then one is on the fence. So I'm not going to vote, but let me say what I think, knowing this neighborhood and this street and having grown up there and listening to the residents. So it doesn't really matter what I think, but it might matter to Mr. Fazeli, so I'm going to just say what I would do if I had a vote, which I don't, would be to refuse it. And the reason I would do that is not because it's going to hurt the value in the neighborhood. Like I heard people say that. I think it's the opposite. I don't think it's going to hurt the value the neighborhood, but it doesn't really matter what I think or what I even think about the value, because that's not what we're here to do. I just think it's just a little too much. And I think, like, you know, we get different applications from residents, and I think, you know, residents often get a little excited about some things, like in this case about the value, which I don't think is right. But I think residents also have like an innate sense of kind of what's going on. And the Planning Act is kind of mushy, right? General intent and purpose, desire for appropriate development, minor in nature. But the question really is this desirable for appropriate development? I think a big house is appropriate. I think, like, I know how this neighborhood works. There haven't been a lot of big houses. It's a neighborhood that is ripe for big houses. It's ripe for a big house almost like this one, but not this one. So I'd vote against it because I just don't think it's desirable. And how desirable? It might be a little bit desirable, 20% desirable, 30% desirable. It's not past 50% desirable. So I would vote it down, but I know how this neighborhood thinks. I think it needs bigger houses. I think a bigger house on this lot would be appropriate. It's just that this one is just so over the top. It's just a little outrageous, so I don't think it's desirable. But I'm not voting. I just said what I think. So it's up to you. So we got no motion on the floor. Maybe it should be you to make the motion, Mr. Fazeli, because it really comes down to you. We don't know what you think.
Yes, like Ms. Cassin explained, like this is a tough one, but my comments are more in terms of like take into the consideration of like making sure all the variances are following all the 4 tests. I think I'm having the same thought in terms of like if it is desirable or not within the neighborhood in that matter. But this is what my comment would go for that, yes.
So do we have a motion? Do we want a motion? Who wants to bring a motion? Is that you, Mr. Fazeli, bringing a motion for refusal? Or was that you bringing a motion for what? You don't have to agree with me.
No, absolutely. I understand.
But we need a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for my understanding, basically what I explained. I see that the applicant tried to accommodate those requests on the application, on the staff report. However, as I think, and I take into the consideration of my panel members, colleagues, to my decision to request, I'd like to make a motion to refuse this application. I don't think, for the reason of like a desirability within the community, in that context, I leave it.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor for refusal. We have a second.
Second that, yeah.
Mr. Mazziari, motion seconded. All those in favor of the motion to refuse? 2 in favor, those opposed? 1 opposed, so it is refused on a split decision. I am not voting, and that concludes the matter. Thank you to our applicant and to the residents, and we are on to another one, but maybe we should take a break because it's now noon. You want to take a 10-minute break? Take a coffee break for 10 minutes. All right, thank you.
We're at half, almost.
I don't think we have a lot of serious ones.
Pretty straightforward. There are not many speakers. We can go faster.
I bet you're losing your mind. Losing your mind doing Penguin.
Frankie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's stressful.
Fuming. I've seen enough of this. I could tell from his voice. Like every sentence.
Well, me and Omar were here for the first spot, but Andrew, you came out the last one.
I was listening on.
I should probably turn this on.
cold, yeah. It's very cold.
Well, part of it is you gotta eat, when you get cold, you need to eat.
هي زي اون چیزی کلا it's too much you just قبل از اینکه بیاد آره میتونی سیکتو تو هست کنی دیگه پوشش خیلی بد بود خودش هم گفت یارو گفت میتونیم حذف کنیم میتونیم که نیست بگیم حذف کنیم میدونی به قبل از اینکه بیاد تو جلسه کن میدید من مشکلم با دیگه پوش بود خیلی هیولو بدبخت میبرم داشت داغون میکرد من به نظرم کار درست اگه تو نمیکردی من میکنم من آماده بودم Oh, it's so cool.
I'm gonna bring the heater next time. It's cold.
I think they turn off all the heating system after like. Is it coming? I think the heating system, they turn off the heating system. It's on. Is it?
Yeah, put your chair back.
Oh, it's gone.
So we're like this. Yeah, that's right.
For me and my Don Mills.
I totally agree with you. I mean, like that's the application. They're just asking too much. And although the agent mentioned that they're going to remove the deck variance, they should be prepared for that. I mean, they should have done it before. Like, this is too much. You know?
Yeah, I just thought it was too much. But, you know, someday, like, all those houses should be big, but you gotta start somewhere to start with that.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be, those residents. You know, if we approved it, if they go to TLAB, they'll get it. But if we approved it, those residents will say, you know, we went to the city, the cards are all stacked against us. Look at that monstrosity they built, and every time they walk by it, they just sort of spit on the ground. They'd be so upset. So let's just give them something, right?
They may come back with an improved application. I don't know. They may not go to TLAB because it's. I mean, for me, it's just like it's an easy fix. Like it's not like lowering by like 2 feet. Like I was okay with the sidewall heights, but my main issue was the deck. I mean, like I was just.
Well, I'm glad because you've seen some of them. I will say, like it's Don Mills, like, but Don Mills can be, you know, better. But that one is just, it's gonna be too much.
I agree. All right, I'm good.
Are we rolling? Can I start? Okay. So we're back. Committee of Adjustment hearing morning, item number 7. It's 2901 Bayview Avenue and 630 Shepherd Avenue East. There's 5 variances. It's request for relief from previous City of Toronto bylaw 569-213 as amended for the comprehensive mixed-use redevelopment of the property at 2901 Shepherd Avenue and 630 Bayview Avenue. Relief is due to internal revisions to the proposed buildings on the site that all take place within the approved building envelope to correct a discrepancy in site-specific bylaw and revise parking rate to reflect updated policy direction. There's a related site plan application. We have before us arborist report, engineering and construction services reports, transportation report. Variances are as follows. Proposed lot coverage is 60%. Proposed minimum residential owner occupant parking space requirement. Proposed mechanical penthouse portion of building C on parcel C. Maximum permitted height of building C on parcel C. Maximum permitted number of stories of building C on parcel C. It's 20 stories. And here we've got 21. Okay. We've got the applicant here. Do we have, yes, okay. And we have no opposition here. So, Madam Applicant, if you could state your name, state your address, just to start.
For sure. I'm Lisa Ward-Mather. I'm a senior associate and planner at Bousfields, and we're at 3 Church Street.
Okay. And do you have changes to the application?
No.
No changes. Question for our panel members. Do we want to hear the full presentation? Do we want to hear from her? I see heads shaking, but I see heads nodding. So you go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
Great, thank you very much. First of all, I'd just like to thank the committee staff and engineering construction services staff and the zoning examiner. We worked long and hard to make sure we got all the variances correct. And thank the councillor and residents associations for meeting with us as well. So if you want to flip to the next slide. The Bayview Village site is at the northeast corner of Bayview Avenue and Sheppard Avenue East and adjacent to the Bayview subway station. The site is about 8.7 hectares and does not include the Loblaws property. And you could flip to the next one there. There are 2 mixed-use developments planned in the northeast and southwest quadrants of the site, 2 new public parks and pop space, and an affordable housing component. Improvements to the Bayview Village Shopping Center are also planned, as well as a future below-grade connection to the Bayview subway station. And you could flip to the next one there. Great, so there are 5 variances, as you've listed, and they meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, in our opinion. So general conformity with the OP, general conformity with the zoning bylaw, they're appropriate for the development of the site, and they are minor in nature. So the 5 variances are partly to address a technical error in the site-specific zoning, which is the lot coverage variance, and also to reduce the residential parking rate to align with the city's objective to reduce automobile dependency. And there's also 3 variances related to the internal layout on the northeast development, which will not increase the massing or height at all. So if you want to flip to the next slide, which shows you the official plan map that shows that the site is mixed use as well as parks. And keep going there. That's the site-specific zoning schedule, which shows you, up a little bit, thank you, that shows you that these variances have come out of a consideration of the site plan application for parcel C. So this is the one that's advancing first. And through that evaluation and in collaboration with Toronto Buildings and the zoning examiner, we've identified the lot coverage variance, which just resulted from a different interpretation of how you calculate lot coverage, which I'll get to in a minute. But this is the parcel we've been working with to identify these variances. And so the variances 3 through 5 specifically relate to it. But parcel A is the southwest block, and parcel B is the rest of the Bayview Village development. So you can keep going. So this is the northeast block, and you'll see there's 2 mid-rise buildings, buildings A and B, and then there's building C, which is the tower that is, we are having these internal layout changes, which resulted in the 3 variances. And then there's a public park in the corner there. So you can keep going. Thank you. So there's again a summary of the variances, which I guess I don't need to go through because I've already spoken to them, but I will speak about them again in detail in a minute. So if you want to keep going to variance number 1 of lot coverage. So basically when the site-specific bylaw was drafted, they didn't consider the partially above ground parking structure as well as projections from buildings as being that they should be considered for lot coverage. And in our recent review with Toronto Buildings, it was decided that they should be included. So there's no changes proposed to the built form. It's just that it was calculated differently. So it's a technical revision. So you can keep going. The parking ratio, there's a modest reduction to the residential parking ratio not related to the non-residential parking, and we're proposing to reduce it to 0.54 spaces per unit. And this is echoing recent direction from in bylaw 89/2022, where Toronto is moving towards a market-driven parking supply. And it's basically to reflect anticipated demand for parking across the site. So this variance speaks to the entire Bayview Village lands, and it's just very much in alignment. And as you know, Toronto Transportation Services Department does not have a problem with this variance. They have submitted a memo in support of it, so, or not concerned with it. So you can keep going to residential uses there. So basically, there was as the design is continued on the mechanical penthouse level of this tower, we were able to use the space more efficiently and freed up some space, which we are now proposing to have residential uses. Because the site-specific zoning understood the mechanical penthouse level as just being for functional equipment for the operation of the building, we are going to require a variance to permit the residential uses. And then once the residential uses are permitted on this level, we also have to revise the height. Yes, sorry, did you have a question?
Your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, but I'm happy to answer questions about those last 3 variances if you have them.
Panel members, questions of the applicant?
Yes, perhaps I'm going to help the applicant
Thanks so much.
continue, because I just want to understand variance for the height variance, because you said, I understand what you're saying about creating residential units on the mechanical level, but how does that trigger the height variance?
That's a really good question. Basically, the site-specific zoning understands building height to the top of the building without the mechanical penthouse, but then the mechanical penthouse is permitted as a projection above that. So basically, once we add residential uses, we now have to include the building height to include the mechanical penthouse level. So the height of the building has not increased. It's just how it's defined in the zoning is shifting.
And just one other question, then that explains the additional story as well.
Exactly.
Okay,
once the residential uses are added, it's now considered a story. But again, the height of has not increased. So.
Other questions from panel members? Let's go into, there's no other speakers, so let's go into committee. Panel member comments, Mr. Marziari.
I'm ready to make a motion with the applicant's explanation. I think this is a straightforward application, and it meets all the 4 tests. So I'd like to make a motion to approve, and I don't see any condition from transportation and also engineering and construction services. So with no condition.
A motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Seconded, Mr. Fazeli. Those in favor, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving along to item 8. Item 8 is 652 Bedford Park Avenue to construct a new 2-story dwelling. There are 6 variances. Various documents on file include an arborist report and a staff report. Staff asked for a revision. The variances are proposed front yard stair width, proposed eaves, proposed lot coverage, proposed height of the side, exterior main walls, proposed building length, proposed east side yard setback. Item number 8 is no speaker except the applicant agent. Is the applicant agent available?
Good afternoon, committee. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Please state your name, state your address.
Jonathan Benskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
Thank you. And have you made any changes to the application?
The only change we've made is we've taken the planning report and we will be eliminating that variance.
So you are removing, just to be clear, are you removing variance number 2?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And that is the only change you're making?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
All right. Okay. Panel members, do you need to hear from this applicant? Would you like to hear from this applicant? I see heads shaking. Mr. Applicant, it's your call, but we have a consensus here that you do not need to make a presentation, or at least not a full presentation. Would you like to say anything?
I'm happy to answer any questions if the panel has any, Mr. Chair.
Panel members, questions for the applicant? No questions. We will move into committee. Do we have discussion or a motion? Mr. Fazeli, did I see you?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application. I think the applicants, by removing the variance number 2, I think it would be a good application to satisfy the 4 test.
All right, got a motion to approve. Seconder, Ms. Casson. Those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Congratulations. And we are on.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you. We are on to item number 9, which is 56 Hartley Avenue. This includes 6 variances. It's to construct a 2-story addition over the existing dwelling, rear 3-story addition, and other interior and exterior alterations. And it also says the applicant is also proposing to construct a garden suite in the rear yard of the subject property. There are a number of documents on file, including a letter of objection. The variances include, for the main dwelling, proposed north side yard setback. For the front canopy, proposed height of the side exterior main walls facing a side lot, proposed platform at or above the 2nd story. And for the garden suite, the variances are proposed south side yard setback and proposed rear yard setback, and proposal penetrates the angular plane. All right. So do we have the applicant agent available on the line? Yes?
Good afternoon, Mr. Members of the committee. This is Bamdad Ben Baghdadi from BBA Design Studio. The address is Unit 213 at 18 Somerset Way in North York. Yes, I'm the architect and the applicant before you today.
Okay, thank you. And do you have any changes to the application before we get going?
None, thank you.
All right, given that there's nobody else here in attendance, but noting, again, there was a letter of objection filed. Do the
Yes.
panel members want to hear from this applicant? And I see head shaking means yes. Go ahead, Mr. Applicant, you have 5 minutes.
Sure. To address our neighbor's concern regarding the letter of objection, if I can have the survey on the screen, please. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Our neighbor's main concern is casting shadow onto their property. Scientifically speaking, it's virtually impossible for us to cast any shadow onto their property because we are located on the north side of their building and the sun is on the south side. So all the concerns regarding the shadowing, well, it's not going to happen because the sun is on the south side. For the second floor deck, they're concerned, we are proposing to have privacy screen on the second floor side walls. If we can have, scroll down to the rear elevation, please. No, this is the garden suite, the main. A few pages down. Yeah, no, 2 more pages, please. Yeah, as you can see, if you go to the next, yeah, if you can, as you can see on the second floor rear deck, they have privacy screens on the north and the south side for the privacy of the neighbors. And their last comment is regarding the parking, which, as we know, recently the zoning bylaw changed and they waived the parking condition, and we don't have any parking variance. And we are virtually right at the public transit and 300 meters from Eglinton Crosstown and 500 meters from Eglinton and Dufferin subway line. So parking is virtually not happening because we are right at the TTC. And we, further to that, we have no comments or conditions coming from the planning nor transportation. There is advisory notice from the public in the Eglinton Crosstown, which any application or any construction within 60 meters require their approval, but we are much farther away. We're about 300 meters away from the Eglinton Crosstown. Regarding the variances, I sent a report to the committee. I think I addressed and explained all the variances. Regarding the main house, the front canopy, we are going in line with the deck below, which is we are deficient with 9 centimeters only. The exterior main walls, we have approvals by the committee with higher main walls. The closest property to this is number 62 Hartley, that the wall height was approved at 10 meters. We are at less than that. And we pushed the front and the back of the 3rd floor back from the main building to reduce the massing, and that wall height effect will be much reduced, and as a result, as we can see, the planning has no concern. The deck, again, we have approvals for the 2nd floor deck with higher numbers in this neighborhood, as I pointed out in my report, for number 62 Hartley and 47 Chamberlain. Garden suite, well, the setbacks for the garden suite, although we have it, it's kind of technical because the lots are small. We can't just comply with the side yard setbacks required at 10% of the lot frontage, and we kind of end up with no livable space on the 1st and 2nd floor. Most garden suites, they go with almost 0 side yard setback, but we left 1.5 feet on the south side, and we are in compliance with the north side. We pushed the house a bit, the garden suite a bit to the back and reduce that 1.5 meter to 1.2. The back of the garden usually is the area that just collects dust and debris, and we just left 4 feet in order for us to have a few windows, bringing lights into this garden suite. And the angular plane, in order to have a livable and usable space on the 2nd floor of these garden suites, we have to have vertical walls. And I think almost 99% of the garden suite and laneway houses, they have this variance because there's no way we can get around it. The lots are narrow and small. And any proposal that we have, we will have this angular plane variances on our properties. And no other neighbors have any concerns. If committee members have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Committee members, questions to the applicant?
I have one question, Mr. Chair. Do you have a drawing that shows the impact of the angular plane on the garden suite?
On my, if you go to the drawings and zoom in to the, to the side, to the front or the back elevations, you will see a dotted line drawn on the elevation showing the angular plane. If you zoom in a bit more. Thank you. Yeah, you see those dashed dotted lines at the 45-degree, that shows those angular, yes. If you wanted to follow those lines, we end up with basically nothing on the second floor.
All right. More questions, Ms. Casson? Are you satisfied? Other panel members, questions? All right. So there's nobody else here, and let us go into committee. Do we have discussion? Do we have motion? Do we have a pulse? We have Mr. Maziari, who's graciously agreed to do something.
Through you,
What would you
Mr.
like to do?
Chair. I think it's a supportable application. I think the requested variances are minor, satisfies the 4 tests, so I'd like to make a motion to approve. I don't see any condition on the file other than Metrolinks, which is the standard one, so with no condition.
Okay, got a motion to approve with no condition. Do we have a seconder for this motion to approve? Mr. Fazeli?
Yes.
Let's vote on this. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Congratulations. It is approved.
Thank you, committee.
All right, so now we've got something else. Let me find something else. Where is it? Lost my place. Number 10. 83 Heathcote, 16 variances. Proposal to construct a detached dwelling with integrated garage. There's a forestry report, a staff report, and a few other documents on file. Of the 16 variances, they go on quite a bit, but let's give you a proposed east side yard setback, proposed west side yard setback, side yard setback to second story, balcony, side yard setback to ancillary building, proposed height of the side exterior main walls, proposed rear stairs, number of platforms located on the front wall, front balcony, it goes on, there's a lot. Let me just summarize what the staff report says. There are conditions attached to the staff report, and those may be relevant because they deal with east and west side yard setbacks, main wall heights, and in particular, the staff recommended elimination of variance 4, elimination of variance 8, modification of number 10 and 12, and elimination of 13 and 14. All right. So I think we are going to need a presentation. Where is the applicant agent? Do we have applicant agent anywhere?
Yes. Hi, committee panel. I'm here. My name is Nushin Mozaffari from Python Studio, representing my client, owner of 83 Heathcote.
So madam, it's hard to hear you. Could you speak into the mic or turn up your volume, please?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Maybe we should, even though we know who you are, maybe say it again for the record and your name and address, please.
Hi again, my name is Nushin Mozaffari from Python Studio, representing my client, owner of 83 Heathcote.
Thank you. Before you get going, there were a number of changes recommended from the planning staff. Have you incorporated them into a modified application at all?
Yes, we have done several back and forth with the planning, and we worked hard with the planning to get their approval and satisfy their concerns. And I
what-
have sent the revised
Okay.
drawings to the committee already, and I should mention the changes before
Yeah, well,
my
let's do
presentation.
that now, just so we know what we're dealing with, because if you could list by variance number the changes that you are making, or you could just do them in the order that planning staff have recommended. Why don't you do it that way, and then tell us if you've made any changes beyond what planning staff have recommended, right? So just go through those. Number 4, did you
Okay,
make
sure.
that change?
Variance number 4 is removed.
Okay,
Variance number 8 is removed.
thank you.
Variance number 10 reduced to 35.62.
35.62, thank you. What about,
Variance number 12 reduced to 2.
thank you, and
Variance number 13 is removed.
yes,
Variance number 14 is removed.
thank you. Now, were there any other variances changed beyond those?
No.
Okay. I'm presuming the panel members still want to hear from this applicant, do they? Do they? I don't know. You don't really want to hear? But you made the changes, so do you want to hear? No, okay. Well, Madam Applicant Agent, the committee has shaken their heads to say that you do not need to make a full report. You can outline a couple of things for us maybe, or you can just pass it over to us. It's up to you.
Yes, sure. Since this is a bit complicated application, I appreciate if the staff can pull up my presentation material. And I just briefly go over the variances.
Okay, so I mean, we've heard you on the modifications to your variances, so unless, basically what the panel has said is they don't need to hear from you, and so you can, I don't know if they have questions of you. Does anybody have questions of the applicant? No, so there are no questions and there's no need for you to make a presentation. Okay.
Okay, sure.
But it's your call, because you're here. Okay, so you don't need to, don't want to.
No.
Fine. So let's go into committee. And panel members, do we have any debate or is there a motion for this?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve this application as amended, as stated by the applicant, and subject to the recommendations in the planning staff report regarding that the east and west side yard setbacks be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing attached to the report, as well as that the east and west side main wall heights be developed substantially in accordance with the east and west elevation drawings attached to the report.
Okay. Just turning to staff, is that sufficient for your purpose?
And there are forestry conditions number 2 and 3.
Okay.
Transportation? I didn't think there was a condition. Sorry. Subject to transportation conditions as well.
Do we have all the conditions? Do we have everything that staff need to? Okay. So we've got a motion to approve subject to conditions outlined by Ms. Casson. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Fazeli has seconded it. Those in favor of and it is approved. Congratulations. We are now
Thank
on
you so
to-
much. Have a good day.
Thank you. So we're now on to item 11. Let me just get this one. Where is it? Okay, here it is. That's 64 SHALLMAR Boulevard. It's a revision to rear deck and landscaping. We've got a few documents on file, including 3 letters of support. And the variances are 3 proposed rear deck projecting from the rear wall, proposed deck 6.67% of lot area, proposed east side yard setback for the rear deck is 1.3 meters. We've got an applicant, agent, in video. May we put him on, please? The applicant, hello? Is he there? He's unmuted. So, Mr. Applicant, please state your name, your address.
Good afternoon. I'm Drew Laszlo, agent for the owner. My address is 193 Rowe Avenue, Toronto.
Thank you. And before you get going, do you have any changes that you need to make or want to make?
No, thank you.
Before you get going even further, panel members, I see heads shaking. Nobody, Mr. Applicant, really needs to hear from you, but it's your call. If you want to say something about it, otherwise the committee has shaken their head and said they do not need to hear from you. So what do you want to do?
Nothing much I need to add unless the committee has any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Questions, committee members from the applicant agent? I see no questions. Let's go into committee. Do we have a motion? Mr. Marziari.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think we have 3 variances before us, and I think they are quite minor, satisfy the 4 tests. So I'd like to make a motion to approve with no condition.
All right. Seconded by Ms. Casson. Those in favor? It is approved. Congratulations. It's approved. And we are on to...
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We are on to item number 12, which is 272 Horsham Avenue. It's to construct a new detached dwelling. We've got on file a few documents, including a previous decision, a staff report. Staff report recommending a condition. We've got 4 variances: proposed lot coverage, proposed pair of side wall height, proposed height of main pedestrian entrance, proposed front platform. The staff report has requested a condition in relation to the east and west side elevation drawings. We have a applicant, and it appears nobody else. So over to you for the applicant, Mr. Applicant. Please state your name.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is Adi Shakiri, 326 Sheppard Avenue East.
All right, before you get going, are you making any changes to the application?
No, sir, no change.
All right, and I guess I should ask you're aware of the condition that staff has asked for? You have objection to that?
Yes, sir, no objection.
No objection to that. All right, over to, before we get going then, panel members, do you have a need to hear from this applicant or desire to hear from this applicant? I see heads shaking, saying, Mr. Applicant, you do not need to make a presentation to this committee. It is your call, but they have indicated it's really not necessary. So if you want to say a statement or two, or you can just defer it back to the committee. What do you want to do?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add. Happy to answer any question.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? I see none. Let's go into committee. I'm hoping somebody has a motion. Is there a motion from a Mr.
Yes,
Azali?
through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with the condition that of the staff report that the proposal be developed in accordance with the east and west side elevation drawing, submitted to Committee of Adjustment attached as attachment number 1 and 2 to the staff report. I believe there is no other conditions. Forestry, number 2 and 3. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a motion here, which is to approve subject to the conditions with this, what did you say, forestry condition 2 and 3, and that the condition of planning staff for the east and west side elevate.
There's no forestry.
No forestry, okay.
Let me just.
I didn't see forestry either.
Yes, no forestry, yes.
Okay, so no forestry, but you've got the condition imposed that the staff report about the proposed proposal be developed in accordance with east and west side elevation drawings, correct? And do we have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Marziari and Ms. Case, I don't know, everybody wants to second this. I saw Mr. Marziari first, so we'll give it to him. So we got a motion, we got a seconder, all in favor, it's approved. Congratulations, it's unanimous, and we're on to item 13.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 13 is 276 Horsham Avenue. It's to construct a new dwelling. There is a letter of objection on file. There's some other documents. It's got 5 variances: proposed lot coverage, proposed height of side exterior main walls, proposed west side yard setback, proposed main pedestrian entrance, proposed front platform. All right, so on item 13, we need a applicant. Do we have an applicant anywhere? Or do we have the
Yes, sir.
the same successful applicant from the last one? So let me, so why don't you just, for the record, state your name, even though we know it. State your name and address, please.
Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East.
Okay, so you're no stranger to this process. Let's, do you have any changes that you want to make to this, or have you made any changes?
But no change, sir. Just you commented that there are 5 variances. There are 6 variances
Yes,
on the
sorry.
public notice that I have.
Right, I missed one. I appreciate that. I missed the proposed east side yard setback at 1.2 meters. Thank you for correcting me. All right. So,
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
So, Mr. Applicant, did you make any changes to this application at all?
No, no change to the application.
Now, I think I'm just going to canvass our panelists. I note that there was a letter that came in of objection. Presuming that person is not here. Panel members, do you want a full presentation, a partial presentation? Do you want to ask questions? What would you like to do? Comment on the letter of objection. All right. So the panel members aren't really asking for a full presentation, Mr. Applicant Agent, but, and again, you are allowed to speak for up to 5 minutes, but they're not asking for you to do that, but they would like you to address the letter of objection. So it's over to you. You don't need to do a full presentation. There is a request on that letter of objection to address it, and it's up to you how you want to use your up to 5 minutes, but otherwise the panel does not really need to hear from you. Okay, so go ahead.
Yes, I saw the letter of objection, sir, and I don't have it memorized. Didn't seem that there is any serious planning planning merit on it. This is an area with lots of developments. This is no different than the other developments in the area. For example, that 32% of coverage we're asking is commonly requested and approved by the Committee of Adjustment for as long as I remember. The side yards, for example, that we've asked for previously actually approved for this lot about like 10 or 12 years ago when this lot was severed, but since we're changing the design and that was an old decision, so we have to ask for that again. And all of these variances are precedented. I'm sure you're very well familiar with the area, but if you have any concern about any of these variances, I'd be happy to answer any question particularly.
All right. Panel members, questions, further question of the applicant? All right. Seeing no further questions, we'll go into committee. Do we have a motion on this application? Mr. Marziari?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have any concern with this application. I went through the letter of objection. I think it's mostly repeating the variances, which it appears to me as minor in nature. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with the condition as outlined on Urban Forestry Memo, which is condition 2 and 3.
All right, so we've got a motion to approve, subject to the condition 2 and 3, which is what, from the forestry report? Okay. Do we have anything else on that? Or can we get a seconder for it? We've got it. We've got Ms. Casson. Ms. Casson is seconding that, and all those in favor? It is approved. Congratulations, and we are done with our morning session. We will convene.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. We'll convene again at 2 p.m. Thank you to everyone.